If you're enjoying Gems with Shom, follow the show. We're just getting started. Welcome to Gems with Shom, a show about beat digging, records, and other things. Today, I'm joined by Eddie Mack, DJ, founder of the Mack Agency, and vinyl curator for DJ Pee Wee, aka Anderson Paak. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Shom. Nice to see you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, appreciate your time, brother. We met at a vinyl bar opening, which already says something about both of us.
Yeah.
It was the first time in a while where I was so impressed by a DJ. It was fun. You played great music. You took the crowd on a journey with old and new music. So I knew we would have a great conversation.
Yeah. No, that was a fun night. It was great meeting you and chopping it up with you. And yeah, definitely had a good time at Only the Wild Ones. Shout out to that whole crew. And that was a good night.
We met in New York. Where did you grow up?
Grew up in Jersey, in Bayonne, New Jersey.
All right.
I was born in Secaucus, New Jersey, 1977, and then raised in Bayonne, and then later moved up to Bergen County when I went to college at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and then eventually moved to Vegas for the first time in 2002.
So your early beginnings, East Coast guy, New Jersey mainly, various parts of New Jersey.
Various parts, yeah. I did did my bedroom DJing years, and then any gig I could take, setting up the stuff in my backyard. Eventually, when I went to college, I kind of spread my wings a little bit more. Setting my stuff up anywhere that would have me. Moose lodges, Elks Lodge, college parties, all types of stuff, and then eventually made my way to New York in the later '90s, and that's where I snagged my first residency at Jet Lounge in New York City in 1998.
Okay. So heavy in the nightclub era in the 90s. Your taste is really refined. I mean, you're a beat digger for real. How did you first get the bug? How did you get your kind of education into music?
Well, I mean, obviously family, parents always had the record collection growing up, heavy Motown vibes at the house. Yeah, from Motown, Hall and Oates, Cat Stevens are probably all very at the forefront. Gary Puckett and the Union Gap was also, that was more of an 8 track I used to steal from my parents and play. But as far as record collection, yeah, even some folky stuff, Simon and Garfunkel and stuff. But, my father grew up in the South Bronx, so he definitely brought a lot of the more soulful musical inspiration into the house. My mother with the Motown, but I think dad went a little bit deeper, just kind of, he was a product of the environment. He was like the only white boy growing up. Ran with a lot of Puerto Rican cats and some black dudes, and they turned him on to a lot of good shit, which he passed down to me. And I think that was a great foundation of kind of the best of both worlds. Mom turning me on to Cat Stevens and Simon and Garfunkel, and dad going a little deeper with like Johnny Taylor, Disco Lady, and stuff like that. But
That makes sense. That makes sense. A kind of a background from the South Bronx, being played a ton of really wide variety of artists you mentioned there.
yeah,
When did you start kind of DJing as a hobby?
yeah, as a hobby, by the time I did that, I would say it had to have been 1990. I want to say maybe around there, 80. No, I would say probably 1990-ish. I would say I put my first pair of Gemini belt drive turntables on layaway at Sound City on Broadway in Bayonne, and a little Gemini mixer with the cheesy sound effects, with the bombs dropping and all that stuff, and my carpeted speaker cabinets that were also Gemini, my Gemini coffin. I was all Gemini'd up. And then I bought my first pair of 12. So that was, yeah, I would say early 90s. So 90, 91. And then eventually getting my first set of techniques, which was just a life-changing experience. I think I probably got those in 93, maybe on Canal Street in New York. My father took me to Uncle Stevie's on the corner of Canal and Church or something like that. I forget the corner it was on, and got my 1200s, and it changed everything.
A lot of people from, let's say, different demographics or age ranges listen to this show. So you're talking about late 80s, early 90s getting into DJing. What kind of music was around you at that time? What was the atmosphere?
Man, I was all over the place. My early, okay, now, and I had mentioned Sound City where I got my first set of belt drive Geminis, but they also sold vinyl. I mean, any music store did back then, wasn't a specialty shop. And, I would just get stuff that I liked. I didn't set out to say, I want to be a hip hop DJ or I want to play dance music or freestyle or whatever. There's a song I like so early or early purchase as well. I mean, an early vinyl experience for me was whatever the year Thriller came out. I'm so bad with years, but I think Thriller came out the same year as maybe the Police Synchronicity, and I got three copies of Thriller that year for Christmas, and a copy of Synchronicity, and then a copy of this really good '80s compilation from my mom, like Sounds of the '80s or something like that, or Sounds of the Streets. It just happened to be from the '80s, so I think it was already implied. It's like, but um, as far as my record digging and record shopping, some early stuff. I mean, Chub Rock, Treat 'Em Right, Frankie Knuckles, the Whistle Song. These are all stuff that I can picture me pulling them out of the vinyl shelves at Sound City. There was a Yo MTV Raps compilation that I grabbed with like Potholes in My Lawn, and it had like Def Jeff, and I think it had It Takes Two was on there and stuff. So that I'm exploring a little bit of everything. I'm buying my Micmac freestyle records, Niasia, Cynthia and Johnny O, and stuff like that. Freestyle was huge in Jersey, and I still love it. Some may consider it a guilty pleasure, but I mean, so freestyle, yeah, it was definitely in the mix. House music and hip hop, but I was also into like just cheesy pop stuff too. I mean, give me all the Hall and Oates, give me Wham, give me all that stuff. I was a kid of the child of I was born in '77, so I was really starting to develop my ear and really start digging music in the early '80s. So that was just what was around at the time, and I loved it all.
I'm glad you brought up all of those kind of genres. It's a wide variety. I mean, you weren't kidding. It is all over the place. It
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. I mean, you have great taste. We're recording this right around the holiday seasons, December 29th. I love Wham. I can't tell you how much I love Wham. Like,
Yeah,
they're
man.
always
Wham
good.
rap. Yeah, I mean, they're great. I mean, it's great music, man. I mean, Wake Me Up Before You Go is a little so over the top poppy, kind of pop tart type stuff. But I mean, everything she wants, you play that at any party,
Yeah.
and people will vibe out, man. It's such a beast of a record, and George Michael's legendary. Andrew
Yeah.
Ridgely too, but George Michael's one of the best.
He's certainly a star. I mean, one of my
Yeah,
all-time favorites. So,
yeah.
it's interesting. You described this early time, Jersey, different influences, a lot of music from all over the place. You're such a pro in terms of being a DJ. You DJ at big clubs, smaller clubs. I mean, you really know what you're doing. When did you really start DJing? What was your first gig like? Like, take us into that memory.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say college was important for me. So college, I started at Fairleigh Dickinson. I never graduated. I was on a 2-year plan, but very important couple of years for me. Really, where I felt like, okay, I'm actually a DJ now. I don't have to bring my equipment because I would bring my equipment everywhere. And it's just like I had a little Hyundai Excel that my grandfather gave me when I went to college, and that would be I would strap the coffin to the hood of the car. I'm sorry, to the roof of the car, and I would put the seat belts were like the two-part seat belts that would come here and across, and I would take the one that would go here. I would go out the window, roll it around, like wrap it around the handles of the coffin, bring it back in the car, and lock it in. And I would have a coffin on the roof of my car.
That's
So
crazy.
when I didn't have to do that, the first time I would say it was probably a place I want to say called Foo Bar, and I want to say it was in Garfield, New Jersey. It might have been Fubar, but even more, but nothing really transpired from that. It was just but the pub on campus at Fairleigh Dickinson University, I worked myself in to be able to DJ what we would call pub night. And they're, 21 and over was able to drink. They would get stamped and wristbanded, but I would go in there, and this is the first time I'm playing to people from all over. So I'm playing to and all different ethnicities and kind of and more of a diverse age group. I mean, we got freshmen all the way up to seniors and stuff, black, white, people from Jersey, New York, Connecticut, all over the country, some international. And I'm like, okay, this is where I really had to make my bones and kind of really start, doing my research and knowing kind of what buttons to push. And that was um, a huge thing for me because I learned a lot from those crowds. So they were forgiving, but they were honest too, and it made me kind of help me navigate like how to work a room and how to read a crowd and stuff like that. And that was also the first place that I was ever able to actually book a DJ as a booker. And I was young, and the first DJ I ever booked was Bobby Condors in uh, in
Crazy.
uh, in 19, so that was probably 1990, maybe 1996 or 1997. Uh, I met Bobby at Rock and Soul Records years ago. And I always, me, like many other people, you listen to Bobby growing up on the radio. I mean, he's such a legend. I mean, and you just hear him. Like, I caught the dance hall bug, like, and did not look back. So I listened to him on, I think, BLS and Kiss um, with what's her name, Max, not Maxine Stowe. Oh my God, it's escaping me now, but she was great. And I bought the Mikey Jarrett Mac Daddy 12-inch, and if you look on the back, there's a picture of Bobby with his long hair, and uh, and and I saw him in Rock and Soul. I was like, holy shit, that's Bobby Condors. And I went up to him, told him I was a fan. I listened to his show, and he gave me his pager number. And I'm like, all right, cool. I said, how do I book you or something like that? And then I used to call this, and that was it. And I called him up and bought him and Jabba, his sidekick from Massive B, and Hot 97 at the time. They were doing on the reggae tip by then. And I brought them to the pub, and they just kill it. I mean, they would kill it. But one of my proud accolades that the first DJ I ever booked happened to be a hero of mine and still a friend to this day. And I also brought him to Vegas for the first time many years later. But nah, man, I love Bobby, and like I said, the pub night at Fairleigh Dickinson University started to open me up to a lot of different sounds, a lot of different cultures, a lot of different just directions that I really need to be mindful of when I'm trying to read a room and work a room. And then the next step from there was New York, you know.
Yeah, I love these stories. You're really bringing up some interesting images. It kind
Yeah.
of tells a lot about you. You're certainly an enterprising guy. I mean, not everyone goes up to a legend like Bobby Condors. I mean, you were probably a kid at the time, and
Yeah.
you just kind of made your way into this. What was your motivation to make DJing a career?
My motivation was, I mean, I was obsessed with music. That helped. I just caught an energy. I love touching the equipment. I love manipulating the music. I love searching for records. I loved the album artwork. I loved the liner notes. I loved it all. I just everything about it. And I mean, it's even prior to all that, I think what made me really catch the bug to even want to get my toes in the water was there was a DJ from Bayonne. His name was John Rosardo, and we're talking yeah, probably late '80s, early '90s. He was DJing the eighth grade dances and stuff, and at St. Vincent's and Bayonne. My friend Brian Schmittler and I would go and hang with him in the DJ booth. And I was like, this is the coolest guy in the world. It wasn't necessarily the cool factor that I wanted to get into deep, but we did look up to him. Oh, he smokes cigarettes and he curses and like whatever. Like he's our cool older guy friend. Maybe he can get us beer when we need it or something like that. And I would just sit in the DJ booth with him and watch him. And it was the first time I ever saw Autofon Concord cartridges too. And I was like, I'd never seen anything like that. I thought it was the coolest thing, and I wanted to get those same ones like John. But that even prefaced, obviously, buying my first turntables and stuff. And I stuck with it. Unfortunately, Brian didn't go the route. I saved every penny and stuck to it. And you know that was it. There was no looking back. Plus, I had the support of my parents, who never looked at me sideways for wanting to pursue that or making that my hobby or my passion. So having the support of your family definitely helps.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think it's a thing that people don't talk about enough these days. At that stage, being a DJ or being a producer, there's a financial investment too. Like you have to somehow come up with the money, whether it's yours or you're getting from your parents. I mean, when you're a kid, how much money do you have anyway? So somehow you're getting a hold of equipment, turntables, or a sampler. That shit's not that easy. It's not that easy at
No, it's
all.
not. Well, I mentioned layaway before. I don't even know if they do layaway anymore. You know, you go and you put, hey, I want to get this mixer and these turntables. Okay, the total is, and literally the total for everything was probably like $600 for the whole setup, maybe $500. And it's like, okay, I'm going to put $25 down. Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. And then I would walk every time I'd walk home from school when I'd have a little extra money, I'll put five more down. And then I even got to the point where I was starting to get shit that I didn't even want anymore and sell it in like the schoolyard at my school. Sell an old guitar, sell a cassette deck or something like that. Pocket the money, put it towards my decks. Um, so no, it is an investment, and you have to buy your music. I mean, 12 inches, probably domestic 12 inches I was buying then were, $4.99 or something like that, maybe around there. 4.99, 5.99, maybe around there. And then obviously once you get exposed to the whole electronic music world or just imports, then you're like, oh, I got to the point where, I'll go record shopping at like Decadence in New York to buy my house stuff, and it's 11.99 for one song. I mean, you'll get a couple of mixes out of it, but realistically, you're probably only going to play the one mix that you like that made you buy the record. Maybe you'll squeeze a second out of it, but that's a lot. But like, it's a lot, but and that's it. Like we would spend our last dollar on, like it was an investment. I think the relationship with music was different then. Um, it was tangible. You could hold it, you could smell it, you could hunt it down. Hunting it down and having to pay the amount for it that you have to pay, it creates a different connection with that art than if you were to just look at words on a screen, and click a little download button and you get, maybe if you're lucky, a 256 rip of that song or something like. I mean, it's different. It's different. There's no right or wrong, but we can't force younger generations to have grown up in the same music culture that we did. Things change. I'm definitely I bring some old head energy, don't get me wrong, but it is what it is. We can't do anything about that. Luckily, vinyl is still going strong. I mean, vinyl sales spiked a few years ago, up 20%, and there's a novelty to it, of course. But records are still very much in the mix. You see so many vinyl bars, the vinyl bar culture, the just vinyl only little immersive parties that DJs are curating and stuff like that. They're everywhere. It's beautiful. Vinyl cruise. I mean, it's I don't think it'll ever go away, thankfully.
I'm glad you brought this up. I mean, you founded the Mac agency. You have an all vinyl sub roster called the Mac Vinyl Collective. Now, this is a
Yeah.
show about beat taking. You're with people of a like mind frame. So I'll ask you, what made you start this business?
Well, starting the business, Mac agency, just in general. Okay. My two big factors were, well, I was inspired by my friend Jason Ojeda planted the seed. So now Jason Ojeda, legendary DJ from New York, just such one of my closest friends for 25 plus years. He now owns Global Audio Systems. I think he might have changed the company name, but he did Public Records in Brooklyn. He does installs all over the world. He's a beast. He's one of my sound senseis. If I have a question, it's either Jason Ojeda or my buddy Matty O from out here in Vegas. But Jason said to me years ago, I want to say maybe 2000. I don't know. It was a long time ago. And he said, why don't you start an agency? You know all the DJs. You got good relationships. You're firmly planted in a city like Vegas. And I was like, I just wasn't ready. I was like, I took it with a grain of salt, but he planted a seed. I was still DJing full time, probably doing 5 nights a week, making really good money. And I was like, I just wasn't there yet. And then fast forward to around, I don't know. I mean, I would say probably 2010, 2011. I started getting a little, my relationship with the kind of DJing that I was having to do changed. I wasn't as connected to the music I was having to play to these people. I live in Vegas, so it's not like, they're going to pull up to see some bald, guy play fucking music that he likes and maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't. We have to cater to the masses out here. I used to say Vegas, we have to cater to the lowest common denominator from all over the world. And it's kind of foul to say that, but there is a truth to it. People aren't coming to Vegas for some kind of to stir any cultural emotions up. They're coming to, you know, get lap dances and lose money or so. But long story short, my relationship with the music started to change a little bit. My relationship with the crowd started to change. There was a different air of like entitlement happening and intoxication, and it just it didn't feel the same way it felt. It started to feel like work. I started to get some anxiety attacks going to try and to have to pull up and do a 6 hour night. I'm like, holy shit, I have 6 hours of this shit. And if I hear this song again, I'm going to lose my mind. But I have to, there's certain things you just got to put so that helped me on like, okay. And then I'm thinking about what Jason said. I said, well, I don't want to leave this industry and I'll always be, I'll never not be a DJ. This current situation, I need to pivot. I need to make it work for me again. I shouldn't be getting panic attacks going to do something that I love. So I said, maybe I'll think about doing this agency thing. Started like putting some ideas together and came up with that thing. Everybody, my last name is McDonald's, but everybody, see it, my dad too. My dad's name was Eddie too. And everybody call it, whenever you got like a Mick last name, your nickname's probably going to be Mac. So, you know, Rory McAllister, who's a legendary DJ from Chicago who lives in Vegas now for many years, is Rory Mac. This Mac, this Mick, you know. So everybody called my dad Eddie Mac. Everybody calls me Eddie Mac. So I was like, Mac, doing the whole acronym thing. I was like, what if I named it after Mac? So the full company name that's on the business license is Music Artist Connection, and that's what I went with for a while. And I knew everybody eventually was going to refer to us as Mac Agency, and that's what we're known as now. Like that's our official kind of DBA now. So and that's what I did. So motivating force was Jason Ojeda planting the seed. I did agree with him. I do know a lot of DJs. I do have a good network. I'm personable enough where I can be out there, kind of, scoring some opportunities, and I don't have to leave the industry. I'm still connected to DJing, but now I get to pass along opportunities to other DJs who might love to play that stuff, and it feels good. So and that was probably, I think I started the Mac in 2015. Really started to dig into it by 2017 ish, and then by mid to late 2018, we kind of went through the roof as far as our local business volume. We went from booking probably 20 something a month to, I mean, even right now, we're probably book almost 400, probably at least 400 DJs a month here in Las Vegas.
There's a lot to
Yeah.
unpack there. I mean, I'm glad to
Yeah.
see your success. Also, thanks for being open. You shared your anxiety trouble. I think that's really good for you to share because you never know who's listening and what they're going through. And you
Yeah.
turned something that was a real, what probably felt like a terrible problem, especially in the middle of a panic attack, to something positive. So I want to give you
Yeah.
full credit there.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I think it's important. I think mental health and just your connection to the art form, um, it's important. You got to be mindful of it because you don't want to just continue to try and fit a square peg into a round hole. If there's not happiness there, it's going to affect your mental health. It's going to affect your reputation because I think you can tell when a DJ is just going through the motions, and I don't think it's fair to the venue. I don't think it's fair to the crowds. Like, we have a job to do and we should be present for it and enthusiastic about it as much as possible. That's why I think it's always good. Have your DJing stuff. It's important, but nobody can defy, father time. Life goes on. We get a little bit older. Sometimes, you deal with a little ageist stuff. Sometimes some gigs go away, and how do you pivot? How do you, parlay it either into something aligned with music and DJing, or just do a whole different thing, whether real estate or opening up, just becoming an entrepreneur in a whole different field, But it's important to talk about, and I always like talking about that because it does happen a lot. There's a lot of I know I'm not the only one. I think that what I said would resonate with some listeners and some people that have gone through what I went through, and it's okay, And there's you can make you look for silver lining, you know, and it worked out good, so I'm thankful.
Yeah, I think that's part's underrated. As in, you were probably facing a lot of challenges. You found that silver lining, and one way or another, you have this high level of success now. So I really salute you for that.
Thank you.
And part of what you do is all vinyl sub roster called the Mac Vinyl Collective.
Right. Yeah.
Tell me about the motivation for that.
Motivation, obviously. I mean, it hits close to home. Just me personally, as somebody that's very much still in the vinyl collecting, digging, playing, all that stuff. I mean, I'm a vinyl freak for sure. So it's that. And then I'm like looking at like the people kind of like that we work with, that we booked, that are just in our really direct network. And I'm like, especially, well, and we'll get into it later when when we jump into any of the Pee Wee stuff. I mean, that definitely helped spark it too, because the DJ Pee Wee sets were all exclusively vinyl, and I'm like, okay, well now we got Anderson. We're working with AP, and like we started working with Mayor Hawthorne, and he's such a vinyl freak too, and Moby, and I'm just saying all the like between friends and people that we booked before. I'm like we should. Vinyl is a very big part of what we do, even in the midst of all these local DJ bookings, which by and large are pretty much exclusively digital. I mean, but it just seemed right, and I'm like, came up with that name, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. We called everybody up, just saw, hey, thinking about doing this. We'd like to include you. And it's just, it's cool. I mean, and I also think that a lot of people were hitting us up for vinyl stuff. Vinyl just became like I said, there is a novelty to it, which we're aware of, which is fine. But we were getting hit up a lot. So we said, why don't we just have this kind of one-stop shop for all of our vinyl DJs? Just click on the tab. This is who we got, because the demand was high, and it's still high. Vinyl's definitely still has a new found a new level of popularity that it hasn't seen in a while, and I love it. So, and that's it. So we're definitely looking to do more MVC, which is what we call my Final Collective, MVC curated events. Where we'd like to definitely took some inspiration from Native, like when we were at South by Southwest, we did like Soul in the Horn with Natasha, and that whole weekend for South by Southwest, they would have Gene Brown selling records, and I always wanted to incorporate like record sales into events, or do like a record fair with like the sickest lineup of DJs playing while people are digging. Yeah, so many things that I want to do with it. Just been just trying to find the time, but yeah, definitely proud of the Mac Vinyl Collective.
Oh, I love to see it. And all the people who are listening to this podcast are like giving you like a slow clap because it only took decades to come back around. So I'll give you a lot of credit. And secondly,
Yeah,
the DJs that you're working with, they're probably getting the same sense of relief because that's what they like. And they don't want that division that you described having before. So you're
right.
giving them an opportunity. And you're also, with your kind of business skills, your years of experience, you're figuring out how to make this into a successful business. So I love to hear it. As a guy with a show about beat digging, I'm celebrating everything you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, I'm glad to see this kind of wave that you're on. I have a kind of prediction. I mean, I started this show 6 months ago. I get tons of good response, and I see beat digging, vinyl culture reaching new heights. I see it being bigger and better than ever. And with all those legends that we like, beat digging legends, hip hop producers from the 90s and 2000s, DJs old and new, I think we're gonna have a new wave of success. Beat
Yeah,
digging is like uncovering gems, and
right.
it makes people feel like they're discovering something. I think it's gonna grow, be more popular, have more kind of good music in the world, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be good for business. I think all of that is gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, what's so special about it is that there's no right or wrong. There's not this normalized base knowledge of music that is driven through everybody on earth. Everybody has their own stories, their own influences, their own starting point. So even if you're just getting into it now, you're going to have the music knowledge that you have at whatever age that is, whether it's 13 or 50, or 30 or 40 or whatever. It doesn't matter. And I look at I know what my knowledge of music is. I'm learning every day. Like, as soon as I think I know a lot about music, I used to you go record shopping with David Hafner, or even like Supreme LaRock, or one of these. Like, there's so many levels of depth to it where I'm like, sometimes I just want to be like, oh my, I can't not hang with you guys. But you're also inspired. You're like, turn me on to this stuff too. There's labels I've never seen in my life before. So I I want to say I go deeper than some on some genres, and then some stuff like even like some staple stuff. I'm down. I'm still learning it. Even knocking on 50's door, you know. Still learning, and constantly inspired by people I surround myself with. Obviously, social media puts you onto a lot of stuff. I follow a lot of the the digging the pages, and stuff like that. There's no right or wrong. You're always learning. Even somebody, Questlove, I was such a freak when Questlove was doing QLS, Questlove Supreme, and he would get into his nerd shit with, like, he'd have like Bismarcky on, and they would just go on, down a rabbit hole of just some nerdery. And like, he's still learning. Some people would ask, Quest on the show, like, oh, you familiar with this, which I knew a ton about, and he didn't know it. I'm like, see, so I'm like, as intimidated, respectfully, and in a cool way as I am, like, by Questlove's knowledge of music, there's some stuff that I might be able to put him onto or something like that. There's no right or wrong. It's constant roller coaster ride of excitement and the thrill of the dig, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The thrill never ends.
Right.
And you never know where your taste will take you. I mean, we're changing as people. There's stuff that I listened to in the past 5 years that I didn't listen to way before. I'm much more into jazz than I used to be into, because you're always going to keep developing your ear too.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you with the jazz. Like, you think, well, I never fit myself into any one kind of hole. Like, I was never like this, like, deep, like, hip hop database of knowledge like my friends are. I sit next to, he's not here now, but right next to me, we run our companies out of the same office. Is John Schechter, co-founder of The Source. And him, and Mighty Mai, who lives about a block behind me, these guys are like encyclopedias of knowledge for all things hip hop and electric. They know, I mean, it's so impressive. And that's more that, like, I can't hang with these guys, but I could learn off of them. Um, so I don't have like this cornerstone of deep knowledge of, like, the jazz, even the staples. I know my Bob Jameses that I need to know, and whatever. So, Lonnie Liston Smith and all this stuff, Roy Ayers, and I love it. I got the staples, but, like, you know, um, like DJ Excel and some of these guys that just go so deep with, like, the knowledge of jazz, and that's something I really want to dig into. I want to, because I've been around a lot more live musicians in the last 4 years too, so it's played a lot more. I'm getting I'm absorbing a lot of that live musician energy some more. I want to learn more about all the great drummers. I want to learn more about all the great, saxophonists and trumpeters and stuff like that. And so that's a whole other rabbit hole I'm excited to go down. So I definitely have a share your sentiments there. And probably my deepest stuff has always been more Jamaican music and stuff. All the old, like, Studio One and Treasure Isle, Duke Reed, Cox and Dodd, and love all that stuff. That's really what has my heart. But love it all. But I love everything.
All right. We went out of order, but that's all good.
Oh yeah,
You were in Jersey, you're DJing college parties, and then you mentioned you moved to New York, or at least started working in New York.
yeah.
Tell us about that time, because it seems like, at least from what I gleaned from what you said, you're hitting kind of like the big time. You're becoming a pro. It's not easy to get those gigs. Tell us about that
Right.
time.
Yeah, exciting. Really exciting. Um, I started really going. Well, I started going out in New York when I was still in high school. David Dickens was the mayor, so I was underage. So luckily, the clubs weren't that strict with trying to get in. So I was going. I was going to Limelight. I was going to the Tunnel, Palladium. Um, Sound Factory came a little later on. The later Sound Factory, not the one that was originally at Twilo. But then Twilo came into the mix too. So it was exciting. Now I'm out of the Jersey bubble. You know, I'm seeing this shit, and I'm glad I got to catch some of the tail those last years of New York, that gritty New York nightlife, going to the after hours. You know, experiment. Like I'm very honest, experimenting with drugs, trying this and dabbling in that, and listening to different sounds and hearing different, learning about different producers and just different experiences with music and nightlife and DJs. Holy shit, man! Just took it all in. Um, I would say 1997 or 1998 was big because okay, landed Jet Lounge, great, small tiny place, 286 Spring Street, right across the street from Envy, which was doing a lot of big parties with Funkmaster Flex, Frank Jugger. You had Don Hills right on the opposite. That was such an important corner. Jane and Washington. Oh no, that was John. I'm sorry, Spring and Hudson. And you had Sway After Hours, you had Don Hills, you had Envy, you had Jet Lounge, and I had a residency Saturday nights at Jet Lounge, and I got into there because one of the bartenders from another place we were going. It was the first place I ever took ecstasy, first place I ever tried ketamine, and I'm not going off on a drug tangent, I promise you, but
It's
it's
all
just
good,
part of
brother.
a very very small component of the story. And I met my best friend there. So Johnny Vicious was doing Thursday nights there with Joe Lodi, A Love. And that was the spot. That was where the record guys would come. Davey Gold from Strictly Rhythm would be up there. Michael McDavid, Strictly Rhythm, Groovalicious, and my friend Bennett used to do some audio installations for Jelly Bean Benitez at his studio. And Bennett's like he had a company, Wired Solutions. They do home audio and stuff like that. And Jelly Bean was a client. And he's like, oh, I knew the DJ from this place, Ohm. You have to come out with us. Ohm was on 22nd between the 5th and 6th, I want to say. Um, and oh, yeah, the DJ's Johnny Vicious. And I was like, Johnny Vicious. I was getting his records in the record pool. I was in Ricketts record pool, based in Garfield, New Jersey at the time. And I wasn't a house head. I was absorbing everything. I loved my hair. I was getting all the bad boy stuff. I was getting all the house stuff, all the, Jelly Bean Records stuff, Strictly Rhythm stuff. But Johnny Vicious would always strike a chord with me. His mixes just, they were progressive. They were pretty banging, and I knew the name instantly. And I eventually got brought up to the DJ booth to meet him. We later became best friends to this day. But the bartender there was able to get me. He was also bartending at Jet Lounge. That's how I got that residency. But Ohm, definitely a big staple because somewhat of the experimentation. I got to meet my best friend, who I learned so much from about DJing and vinyl. He used to have me organize his records too, which I love. You know, he used to work for South Soul years ago and had access to their whole catalog. So he did all these really good, well-known, like first choice remixes and stuff for like Love Thang, and did some Lolita stuff. And Johnny was definitely my New York City nightlife kind of consigliere, like my big brother, who kind of showed me the ropes and would have me deliver mixes to, Danny Teneglia or Jonathan Peters and Peter Rohofer, rest in peace, Peter. So I got to really start to meet and brush shoulders with these guys and sit in studios and watch the process, and it was all so inspiring. So important, yeah. 1998, New York City, probably major importance to my kind of um, my molding as a DJ and a vinyl collector and a music enthusiast. Yeah,
That's awesome to hear. I could see you kind of like lighting up talking about these memories. So it's good to see. It's good to see.
yeah. And
So
Johnny eventually bought a record store. He bought Beyond Bass Records, probably 99 or 2000. So that was my second time working in a record store. Actually, I worked in Mondo Music in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Dave Mondo, a one-stop shop, all the DJ gear, all the records. It was like DJ heaven, man, for the gearheads, for the diggers. And I got to work there briefly, but I was really appreciative of that. And then Johnny bought Beyond Bass Records on East Third Street between First and Second. So you had Dance Tracks, which was like the house spot, on the corner of First and Third Street, First Avenue and Third Street. We had Hell's Angels Clubhouse right across from us, and Johnny bought Beyond Bass, and I used to go to the distributors with him and go pull all the records that we would sell. And going to a record store that record stores have to shop at, like the distributors, that was like even more like record porn. It's just like, oh my god, like everything is here. So
So around this time, would you say that's when you started making a living being a DJ and probably other nightlife stuff?
yeah, I mean, I had my steady gig. I mean, I was at Jet Lounge. Jet Lounge eventually led to the Hamptons. Jet East, it was the same owner, and then still that same owner brought me to Vegas. He started Light Group out here in Vegas. But yeah, it's like a chain reaction. Sometimes you do a good job. It's like New York is like so densely populated, and you think it's so massive and vast, but it's also so closely networked. It's only like a couple of degrees of separation. You get in with a good promoter or a club owner that's pretty enterprising that wants to open up a lot of venues, and they can change things. Because when I started doing Jet Lounge, I would do that, but I think was I still working maybe part time? I think I might have been working at a restaurant part time also and DJing on the weekend. I basically DJ, make my whatever it was, $175 or $200 for 6 hours, and then go to Sound Factory. I DJ 10 to 4, and then go to Sound Factory, and then there was a period of time. Jet Lounge 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Sound Factory, I'd get there by 4:30, maybe stay till 10 a.m. and then go to Beyond Bass and open up the record store and work the record store like 10 to 6.
That is so
And I'd
wild.
be like nodding off at the cash register. I remember one time I'm falling asleep at the cash register, and like there was a bell at the door, and the door opened. I was like ding ding ding, and it was Roger Sanchez. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And he was looking for a specific record, and it was Tom Chastain, Freedom on F-111 records he was looking for, which we had in the bin. And he was also looking for a Zito DeBass, Doom's Night, the Timo Moss remix, which I had not for sale, but I had an extra copy packed in my records from DJing the night before. So I said, give me a minute. And I went to my car and I gave it to him. He's like, you serious? I'm like, yeah, just take it. He's like, oh man. So I was happy to have helped Roger Sanchez with a couple of selections.
I like to hear that story. I'd
Yeah.
say you're definitely an enterprising, hardworking person. And I'm glad to see your love of music kind of pay off in different ways. I mean, you've been doing this in different cities over the years. Tell me what happened after New York.
Yeah. So you fast forward a little bit to so I did my Jet Lounge, Jet East, Southampton, all that stuff. Managing a restaurant. Oh, yeah. So I'm still managing. I was managing Brooklyn's Pizza in Hackensack, New Jersey. And I get a call on a Friday, guy with a British accent who I immediately knew who it was. It was Andrew Sasson, who was the owner of Jet Lounge, Jet East. Eddie, how are you, mate? I need you, buddy. I'm like, where do you need me? He's like, I need you in Vegas. I said, when? He's like, tomorrow. I said, really? He's like, I'm running through all these DJs. Nobody's working out. I'm taking matters into my own hands. Um, can you make it out here? So I got my shifts covered. They flew me out. I DJ'd Saturday and Sunday at Light nightclub at Bellagio. Monday, they called me down to the office and they said, we want to offer you every Friday and Saturday, and we'll get you a gig somewhere else to just fill out your week a little bit more. And I said, okay, let me think about this. I mean, I knew what the answer was, but I'm like, I didn't want to leave the restaurant hanging because I was really close with them, and I didn't want to, leave them hanging. So I commuted for the next couple of weeks, stayed with a friend, and then eventually, and I was going to do that for a while. I was like, okay, I just won't work the restaurant on the weekends. But then it got to the point where the owner of the restaurant called me down. He said, Eddie, you have a decision to make. You either want to be the manager of Brooklyn's Pizza Or do you want to go DJ in Vegas? I said, John, here's your keys. Thank you for everything. And then I moved to Vegas like 2 weeks later. I think February 1st of 2002 is when I finally moved to Vegas. And I stayed there, and luckily like I said earlier, like, if you link up with a good promoter or a really enterprising nightlife group or hospitality group, like a light group, like a town group or something, then you could be sitting pretty on a lot of opportunity. And, and that's what I did. Andrew went on, along with his partner, Andy Massey. They opened up at the height of their portfolio. They probably had between nightclubs, restaurants, and lounges, I would say probably, I don't know, 16 or so venues in town. Nightclub wise, they had Light at Bellagio, Jet at Mirage. They later did Haze at Aria, which then became Jewel. A lot of stuff, lounges, and and it was a different kind of nightlife. It wasn't Sound Factory, it wasn't Twilo, it wasn't that. It was They bought European bottle service, which there's that you know 20-year argument of how bottle service negatively or positively impacted sales, but I think negatively impacted the culture as a whole. People were driven by different things. It was a little bit more look at me, look how much I'm spending, and a little more exclusivity, but more like along the lines of like the kind of Studio 54, but with way more bottle service presence than just like the exclusivity kind of you're not good enough to come in here type shit. Um, but they kept me very busy. I stayed with them for a total from back in New York through Vegas, a total of about 14 years. Um, Met a lot of interesting people. I still speak to this day. I still do a lot of work with one of the owners, with Andy Massey. But then, just kind of grew apart, and then I wound up moving back to Jersey in 2012. I moved back to Jersey to open up some spots in Atlantic City with Angel Management Group, which later became Hakkasan Group. And we opened up some spaces we opened up the original HQ. It's now called HQ2. But HQ was the original name, and HQ Beach Club. And that was a 2-year run. And then back to Vegas in 2014.
Those are some interesting turning points. I mean, you summarize like 15 years of your life in like 2 minutes. So I'll say you definitely roll with it. In
Yeah.
all of this, music seems central. I mean, you're
Yeah.
a really good DJ, and you could have went in many directions. You chose a very specific sound that I enjoy. I mean, people who listen to this would enjoy. I think it's
Yeah.
a wild tale you just told.
Yeah, I think after many years of spinning with catering to everybody else's needs, which is fine. It's part of the gig to a certain extent. I know where I stand. I know I don't have this discography of songs that I've produced and stuff. I have some, but I was never known for that. And people aren't coming out in droves to see me because they see my name on a flyer. And that's fine. But so I know I have a role. Like I have to cater to these people because they're not here just to see me play what I want to play for me. And I haven't developed the sound that is driving them to the venue. I mean, but having stepped away from DJing as a full-time thing, focusing more on the booking side, on the more behind-the-scenes side, I'm able to be a bit more selective with what I pick up to DJ. Um, Only the wild ones, yeah, it was great. I mean, I'm going to play. I prefer to just do vinyl gigs because I play. You manage the expectations a little bit better. Requests come. It's like, listen, physically, I am unable to download anything or play your request. This is what we're doing. This is the vibe for tonight. I know I can't please everybody, but rock with me for a little bit. And even that night, got some feedback from some of the personnel there. Just one person in particular, who's my friend. But I'm like, well, this is the direction you gave me for that opening was Tame Impala meets Sam Cooke. You said it's a small place, a little bit more of a chill vibe, maybe some lower BPMs. I didn't know it was going to be a dance party, but this is what I have to work with. And we got him, and we got there, and it was
Oh, you turned it out. You made it a dance
great.
party.
I was like, I didn't expect it to be even what that was, but it was like far exceeded expectations, man. If you get to play Gloria Jones, like the original Tainted Love by Gloria Jones, and New Order, Temptation, and those are your biggest records of the night, like I'm like, yeah, more of that. Like, give me that.
I like it. I like it. I mean, first of
Yeah,
all, you DJ'd really well. I really enjoyed it,
thank
and
you.
I think handling those kind of requests, it must be tricky. So I think it's definitely a journey for many DJs, not only yourself.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's still I'm still a work in progress with having to tame my emotions. Pop an ashwagandha before I go on. Keep the anxiety at a certain level. Okay, if I get a request, I don't want to project like where my mood is going to be if somebody requests something. So I try and be conscious of my energy towards others now a little bit more than I was when I was fueled by Jägermeister and chain smoking cigarettes as an angry youth.
You're a tremendously nice guy, and you're a DJ with real taste. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
a circus clown. I mean, you're
Right.
dictating what happens there. I mean, they paid you for a reason to be there.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. Myself and Maurice, we've done it before. We did it for their place over in Venice also, and Maurice and I just vibe so well together too. So yeah, it was a whole thing. It was great.
All right. So you work very closely with Anderson Paak, aka DJ Pee Wee.
DJ Pee Wee, the Wee Man. Yeah, yeah. We're going almost 4 years strong with DJ Pee Wee. March of 26 would be mark our 4 years on the road.
One of my favorite artists. He's a supernova of talent. Not only is he great creatively, he's extremely popular. I mean, both of those things aren't always happening, right?
He's
And
special. Yeah.
I love to see it. I love to see him everywhere, and he's through a variety of genres, but it's still kind of his sound. Tell me about how that started.
Yeah. I will. I'm going to give you fast track as best as possible with a brief bit of context. So, which feeds off of what we were just talking about, what kind of drove me to do the Mac agency stuff. I wasn't really connecting to a lot of the newer music, a lot of the stuff that I needed to play. And along comes, I want to say it was Come Down. I mean, I was kind of late because Andy had been making records before that, and then you had the Breezy Lovejoy stuff, even that preceded, that was before Anderson Anderson Paak. Um, so along, I hear like I'm in a record pool. I think on DJ City, and I boom, Come Down's released. I think I downloaded the remix with Ti, and it just opened up this whole rabbit hole. Am I wrong? Come Down. I'm like, yo, this guy is different. I'm like, and every time I would see him, then I would just deliberately look for. I need to consume his music because his stuff is hitting different than any other stuff that's crossing my path. It's like his hip hop is just the right. It's just his delivery. Everything is just it struck a chord with me. I'm like, it's just like my kind of shit. When he goes soul and R&B, just the rasp, just the tone of his voice and just the words and the feeling behind. There was something that just hit me. And he was like, and even like before we had even met, like, "Oh, who's your favorite new artist?" If somebody would interview me or just ask me a question, or I'm on a road podcast and we're going through top fives, Anderson Paak. So, you fast forward now, okay, we fucking deal with the COVID stuff. A lot of, dark days ensued for, a couple of years until shit started to reopening. But one of the high points for me was, this project comes around called Silk Sonic, and it was just a much needed, like, put a smile on people's face. The inspiration, that 70s, 80s soul, boogie, disco, roller skates, just the way that everything. And I'm like, Bruno and Anderson together, like, holy shit, man. And with that, Leaving the Door Open comes out, and it was perfect. And then Skate comes out, but you know, just blown away. And we get word. So with Mac Agency, we booked probably 20 something, probably almost 30 venues up and down the strip and around town. One of those places opened in 2019 called On the Record with the Houston brothers, really good friends of ours from LA. They actually have a partnership. They have Andy's on Santa Monica now, which is they partnered with Anderson to do their latest venue. But they collaborated with my friend Sean Christie from the MGM side of things at the time on the record. Um, Really, the whole place is a throwback. You got boom boxes on the walls. You got an old Rolls Royce that the DJ's built into. You got a backyard, like a lot of stuff. Cassette tapes, records hanging off the wall. It's dope. It's really cool. And I got word once we found out that On the Record was going to make moves to reopen because it was kind of dark for a while. We weren't sure what the future of the place was going to be. Okay, it's opening up, and get this. Silk Sonic is going to be doing a residency because Bruno's very deeply connected to the MGM for years. He's been doing his residency there. The 24 Karat show has been at Dolby Live, which used to be called Park Theater, at Park MGM for years. Very close relationship. Now we have Pinky Ring. He has his nightclub at Bellagio, which is killing it. Um, and okay, On the Record's opening. Silk Sonic is going to do a residency at Dolby Live now. And the official after parties are going to be held at On the Record. I'm like, no shit. How cool is that? I'm like, all right, great. And so I'm pumped because I know it's going to bring just this energy, more of that energy. We need that energy coming out, coming out of like that shitty COVID time. It just was the right time, right sound, the right look with the right guys at the right time. And so I'm like, okay, so we did, boom, we do an after party. I think we did one or two of them. Great. And this is a demographic that what's so special about that sound and with them being behind it is sonically you're appealing to you can appeal to the aunties and to the grandmas and stuff like that, and to mom and dad. But it's Bruno, it's Anderson, so it's being delivered by people that are in the now. And Anderson comes from somewhat, I don't want to say if you know at the time, but he wasn't like the household name that was Bruno, which is great. I think that added so much to the dynamic. And it was just perfect, man. So, but I'm starting to see stuff, and I'm like, the music's great. We have a backyard at the club that's all throwbacks, and I'm like, but we have this speakeasy that's hidden behind a wall of cassette tapes. You go down this corridor, and it's just nothing but cassette tapes, left and right, from floor to ceiling. And if you push a portion of those cassette tapes, it opens up into what we call the vinyl parlor. And you go in, and it's just records all over the wall. But on the regular business night, we wouldn't have a DJ in there. So I was like, all right. I said, this is just doesn't feel right. We have a vinyl parlor empty. There's no DJ playing vinyl for Silk Sonic after parties. I said, the club is called On the Record. I said, we got to do something here. But MGM, there's a lot of corporate red tape. You got to get approvals, budget approved. I went on friggin' Amazon. I found a DJ booth. Cost me, I think maybe $350. It's called the Sound Bar, I think. As long as it could fit two turntables. I knew I wasn't going to get something to fit a regular style, but two turntables battle style, and either an S9 or an S11 two-channel mixer, which it did. I ordered it, didn't ask any permission. I built it. I delivered it to On the Record, and I was going to be the DJ. I just packed a big bag of 45s, and it was a hit. And one of the owners, one of the partners with Houston Brothers, David Weiss, took a picture of the DJ booth with me DJing, sent it to texted it to Anderson, and then Anderson replied right away. They had just gotten off stage for Silk Sonic. He's like, "Oh hell yeah, I'm gonna pull up." I'm like, and then he's like, "Anderson's gonna come by. He's probably gonna want to DJ with you." I'm like, "Let's go." And that's exactly what he did. He came by. He had his first wig on that he ever had, his little bob wig or whatever you want to call it, and he came in and played with me for well, he played for about 2.5 hours. I'm pulling records for him. He's playing 45s. I'm also pulling records off the walls. I'm climbing over people to get to the Bee Gees record that he wanted to play more than a woman, and we just got in this groove, man. And it was just the best time. We packed the room. It was full. It was just full of energy. It was great. The next day, I get put on a text with him. Eddie, I have Anderson on text. He wanted to link with you. And he was just like, hey, man, thank you for last night. I haven't DJed since high school. I love that you were playing records and stuff. He's like, that's my shit. I want to come. He's like, can we run it back Saturday? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I never really was too big on the 45s. I said, don't worry about it, bro. I said, so I go and I have my whole record collection. So I'm like, I kind of know what kind of stuff might have inspired you, but he also sent me an Apple Music list too, with just some stuff. And I built 4 boxes of 12-inch vinyl, some LPs, some 12 inches, and we came in. Saturday night after the show, Bruno pulls up. Bruno's the hype man on the mic. AP's DJing. I'm pulling records for him. Bruno name, Anderson was calling himself first DJ. I think it was DJ Bing Bong for a night, and then he went to DJ Sputnik. But there was some conflict in Russia at the time, so that was a touchy subject at the time. And then Bruno had been calling him Pee Wee, I think at rehearsals, so that kind of stuck for the DJ name too. And shortly thereafter, I get a call from Crystal Miles, from who works with Anderson, who runs Pack House, and she's amazing. And Eddie, I'm calling from Anderson Pack's team at Pack House, and I just wanted to let you know he wanted me to reach out. We started booking DJ gigs for him, and he wants to know if you would be down to hit the road with him. And I'm like, I didn't have that. I was like, yeah, yeah. I didn't think. I'm like, okay, we'll do a couple of DJ gigs, ride this little wave, and we're good.
Can I pause you right there?
Of
How
course.
did that feel? I mean, you've been through all kinds of stuff in your life, moving
Yeah.
cities. I'm sure there are many ups and downs in your years of DJing. How
Yeah.
did that moment feel?
I mean, it felt great. I mean, there was an obvious chemistry when we were working together. There was a vibe. There was something. It was something special. And for this guy, just the fact that he wanted to use vinyl, that was everything to me. I think it was a huge component of the growth and the kind of rollout of the DJ Pee Wee brand. Um, and this guy, Andy won 4 Grammys that year. That Silk Sonic album won 4 Gram. And so this guy's out there now, and there's always going to be like the celebrity DJs and stuff like that. But with all the technology, obviously they don't want to do anything that's going to make them look like they don't know what they're doing or they're not like killing it or stuff like that. So maybe it's the sync button, maybe it's a pre-mixed something that they play, and then they just hype the crowd up. Anderson wants to go and do vinyl, which you don't fake it till you make it. You can either do it or you can't do it. And he went for it and he did it and he does it well. Um, and he's bringing it back. Just feel good music. Let's play those classics. Let's get the disco. Let's do a Soul Train line. We're playing hip hop too. And he's performing some tracks. And so when Crystal called me, um, yeah, I was like, it was great too because I came up in kind of the era, at least in Vegas, of a lot of negative reinforcement, a lot of micromanaging, a lot of hosts and managers breathing, looking over your shoulder. What are you going to play next? This person bought this bottle and wants to hear this and that. So to be able to share experiences where it was just playing music that, passing records that with music on it that I am so connected to, that I love, and just those specific physical records that have been in my collection, and handing them to somebody that I'm such a fan and admirer of. Um, like it was surreal. So now to get that call to say like this is something, I still wasn't looking outside of the Silk Sonic after parties. Okay, we're going to pick up a few during the Silk Sonic, like we're going to do a couple of things here and there, and I'm going to ride this. I'll ride this wave and enjoy it. And it felt good. Long story short, but I had no idea how where it would lead to. But those gigs that she called me, which is like we have one coming up in New York in April, and then we have one for Coachella. And I was like, I'd never been to Coachella. I knew it was a festival. It wasn't actually on the festival ground. It was something for Soho House called Soho Desert House. And that was fun. That was our first time out of Vegas doing a set. So now I have to now get my routines together. What cases am I bringing? Packing because I'm leaving my hometown. I'm leaving where we've done this, and I have to be prepared. It's like I'm packing a DJ again. Um, and we did Soho thing. We did another NFT party with Dumbfounded for some friends of his. And then we did Zenyara, which is this massive, sprawling, over-the-top estate in Palm Springs Desert or Coachella Valley. Yeah, I think it's Palm Springs Desert. So, shout out to David Corso, who runs the show over there. And we did a set on the beach. One of the turntables wasn't grounded. It was like he killed it, but it was just like it was early stages. So we just rocked with it. And little did I know the New York gig, I get picked up. Well, and they booked the Hollywood Bowl too. It was one of the early ones we did for Netflix and Chill with Dave Chappelle. And I was like, okay, now I'm doing a sound check at Hollywood Bowl. I'm like, talk about like kicking it up a few notches. And then the New York gig turned out to be the Met Gala. And I didn't even know. I
Crazy.
wasn't even familiar with what the Met Gala was. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. And I was like, wow, this is a big deal. And they sent me out when I was out in L.A. to do the Hollywood Bowl show. They sent me with Anderson's assistant at the time to Gucci, and they fit me for like this Gucci suit and all these shoes just because I'm like, they're like, oh, this is for the Met Gala. I'm like, the Met Gala. They're like, that's the New York gig. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then from there, it just snowballed into this globe trotting. His old tagline on his Instagram account was the DJ who spun vinyl and went viral. And that's what he did, and he continues to do so. And we've been around the world and back a couple of times, from Mumbai to South Africa to Bali to all over Europe, yeah, and still going strong.
I love to hear that. If you look at your story, we've went over a few decades now, and you look back and connect the dots. There's like a few common themes. First of all, you're a great enterprising networking guy. You're able to make music into a business. You're a great DJ. You're committed to vinyl. And to see this kind of success, I think it's a really good story for everyone to hear.
Well, thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah, yeah. So our next segment, drop a gem on. We'll play a word association game. You tell me what comes to mind. It could be a feeling, a personal story, anecdote, really anything. It will be songs, artists, places, spaces. Tell me what comes to mind. Tangents are welcome. D Train, you're the one for me.
Yeah. So many feelings, so many good, just good, and so much good comes out of just hearing the name of that song on so many levels. Number one, Prelude Records, just a staple. That post disco, early, that they were them in West End, and I think were just like my favorite labels from around that time. But just his and his label mates with Nick Straker and Sharon Red, or I mean just nonstop. Franz Jolie, what a label, what a song. I think if you wanted to flip it and say Prelude Records, the first thing that would come to mind is D Train. You're the one for me. That's the record that just speaks to me the most on the label. That is the beacon at the top of the pyramid. I think is You're the One for Me. Great, Francois K did a great mix of it. But I mean, Floor Filler, been sampled, inspired. It's an iconic, um, legendary dance music record that will never die, and rightfully so. And it's even more special now. I mean, years later, D Train is a friend. He lives here in Las Vegas now for a few years now. And we do an event called Paradise Fever with our friend Nick Lopez, and it's an homage to Mancuso, Studio 54, Paradise Garage, more loft garage than 54. It's a little deeper, but we are in Vegas, but so you can only go as deep as you can get. But I was always like, I want to book D Train to perform. And I called my buddy John Luongo, legendary record guy, producer. I mean, he did Jackie Moore, This Time Baby, 12-inch mix, Melba Moore, You Stepped Into My Life, Greg Kingman, Jeopardy, fucking, what's Patti LaBelle, Music is My Life, all that stuff. I mean, and I'm like, you got to connect to D Train. And then he calls me back. He's like, I have some interesting news for you. D Train lives in Vegas. A couple of days later, D Train and I had lunch. We met, we vibed out. Great guy. So to be able to, say, D Train is now a friend, and he's also, much like Anderson, so much respect for these guys, and so much like just legends, man, legends and great people. And I'm honored to have gotten to a place to be able to call them friends and know them. But you're the one for me. Probably it's going to be on everybody's top 10 of, and I'm going to go geographically specific, like anybody from New York that's a fucking DJ of a certain age, like it's a staple. It's one of those staples. It's it's a Mary Jane Girls All Night Long. It's a Tana Gardner Heartbeat. It's one of those records. It's one of the staples.
Yeah. What a voice. What a feeling. That record,
Yeah,
it's almost like so much of let's say 90s, early 2000 house draws from that soulful vibe. I mean, the fact that you know him is so wild.
it's great. Yeah, and then and I would say like we catch each other when we can. He's on the road a lot. I mean, he's still just doing his thing. He's all over Europe still, doing stuff out here. Does the Smith Center downtown. So we connect when we can. The last time I think I saw him, unfortunately, we were talking, I think on the side about road podcast, but my best friend, one of my best friends, DJ Neva from Road Podcast, passed away a few years ago, and I asked D Train to come in and perform "Keep On," and then Never was from the South Bronx, so he had all of his New York family. We had all the DJs there. We had DJ Goldfinger, the legend from New York City, DJ, along with Shortcut, and D Train came in and blessed us with a performance of "Keep On" for our brother DJ Never, and that was the last time. So D Train, if you ever listen to this, thanks again for that. It was
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
But then
Finding
everybody's like, "Yo, how come you didn't have him do you the one for me afterwards?" And I'm like, I didn't want to overstep.
finding a silver lining. Another theme with you. I think that's good.
Yeah,
That's good. Jones Girls, Nights Over Egypt.
yeah. I mean, definitely a lot of feelings with that record. I think, and I'm going to be honest, probably in my younger years when I wasn't as in tune to stuff like that, I might have, I think I probably felt a different way about it years ago. The Nights Over Egypt and like the whole Egyptian kind of theme was just kind of like a little corny to me to a certain extent. But then when I really just sat with it and really took in the musicality, the arrangement is great. I love the arrangement to it. But oh, it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful record. And and as it pertains to like present day too, it was on Anderson's list that he passed along to me when we first started working together. So started packing that, but then I'm like, every time I would hear that song, I'm just hearing "Am I Wrong" over it, and I'm like, wow. And I'm trying to find, and at the time, I wasn't in the studio anymore. I wasn't messing with Logic or anything like that. I wasn't doing stem separation because I just didn't need to. I wasn't producing, I wasn't DJing and making edits or any of that stuff. So I was a little out of the loop. So I'm like, how would the old school me try and find some instrumental bits that maybe I could even pass along to somebody that could do the edit for me, and I was able to grab the Mike Morrow edit of Nights Over Egypt, and it just lets the instrumental breathe. And he just did, he has the multi tracks or the stems or whatever, and just was able to let it breathe. And I was like, shit, I think I have all the parts that I would need. And then I asked Anderson if he can get me the studio acapella of "Am I Wrong?" And then I got with my buddy G Squared, and we put a mix together, and it was "Am I Wrong" over Nights Over Egypt. And we did a TV track too to perform. And I played it for Andy, and he's like, this is sick, and it goes so good. And then really the kicker here though, now fast forward to maybe like 2 years ago, we were in New Orleans, and he was doing a show. We did a DJ set somewhere, but he also was doing an Anderson Paak and the Free Nationals show in New Orleans. And I'm hanging out with the team and just kind of enjoying the show. And then all of a sudden I hear do 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 do, and then I hear T Nine, and I was like, they're gonna do the Nights Over Egypt mashup live. So he's gonna do that version that we did at his show. He didn't say anything, and then I was like, I tried to talk to him after. I said, "Bro, are you kidding me?" He's like, "I didn't want to tell you anything." And I was like, holy shit, that was so cool, man. So, aside from it just being a perfect record, it's just such a beautiful record, beautiful arrangement. I have a much deeper understanding of it now than I did when I was young and listening to, different stuff, and maybe just didn't wasn't a little bit more impatient with some of the music I was consuming. Um, yeah, that definitely took it to a whole different place when he did that.
That's
So
a unbelievable story. I mean, both those songs, "Am I Wrong" and "Nights Over Egypt," they're kind of always in my regular rotation of just stuff I play. And to hear that doing it live, that's so wild. Good thing you kept kind of sticking to your guns in terms of taste. So I'm glad to
yeah,
see that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Next group I'll bring up, the Beat Junkies.
yeah. Beat Junkies, man. Yeah, I mean, legends, man. What a crew. I mean, what a crew. I mean, I met Babu for the first time through my boy Vinrock. Vinrock is like out in the Bay now, but I went to high school with Vinrock, Vin Punsalan, and we used to do high school dances together back in the day. And then I saw him on the cover of DJ City. So my first, I want to say, I think Babu, and I don't even know if Babs would remember this. We met at Carnegie Deli at the Mirage, probably 2008, maybe 2008, 2009, around there. I don't know. But, like years later, Mello D was out here, got real tight with Mello. I was probably always tightest with Mello because he lived in Vegas for a while. I was out a lot, DJing Body English and stuff. We'd be at a lot of DJ dinners together and stuff. Eventually, fast forward from the on the record years, we started booking them. So that's how I hooked up with Sunil Matthew, who runs the whole squad. Also, they just opened up made from scratch pizza. The whole crew is involved in the pizzeria. So Sunil's great. We used to book. I think the first time we booked them, we did Mellow, Chalk, and D Styles, I want to say. Then the second time, I think we did maybe it was Chalk, J Rock, and Rhett. And then later on, and I was just waiting for the day that I would eventually get to connect with Shortcut, because I knew Short was just such a massive dancehall reggae fan, and I would see like he would do like the Red Bull sound clashes and stuff, and he got it. I mean, he's on the mic speaking patois, and he's running fucking crazy dub plates, and I was like, man, me and Short got a link, man. And then we actually Short and I we only met a couple of years ago, man, officially, and hit it off as we both would have expected. And he loved that whole crew, man, just legends, mega talents. What they do with those decks, man, it's just unbelievable, man. So yeah, and they got a little bit of everything. They got the ones that are a little bit more primed for the Vegas party rock set, who I would say, maybe Mellow, Short, Chalk, and then it gets a little higher intellect, a little deeper, a little headier, with some, you start going Rhett, you go J Rock. I mean, what a combo of talent, man. Love them. They are family, and yeah, love Beat Junkies.
Oh, it's great to see what you're doing with these DJs. First of all, they're massively talented, and they got their start in a earlier era as turntablists. And to see you kind of keeping them being introduced to new audiences is fantastic.
Yeah, no, thank you. And they check every box, man. They do it even with the Beat Junkies Institute of Sound. Um, they're showing the students on vinyl. It's not like whether that's what they want to end up doing or not. They keep it incorporated into the curriculum, and it's like we're going to show you it all, and then you make your decisions. So they get it. They're great ambassadors for the craft, for the culture, for the craft of DJing, the culture of DJing, record collecting, representing everything. They check every box, and they're the best.
All right. So you've had a wild ride, lots of success. You're on a new high. If this next phase, this next season of your life were to be a success, what would have happened?
Yeah, I mean, big moves for the agency. I mean, there's some big stuff happening in the Pee Wee world that'll be announced soon. As far as agency, personal growth, I'm always striving to be a better guy, striving to learn more, always a sponge when it comes to music and music consumption. As far as my business and the company, definitely making a promise to my team and my DJs that I work with to be more present for them and really start scaling this outside of Vegas. I mean, I don't want to say we're maxed out in Vegas. I mean, I don't think you can ever be maxed out. There's always room for growth even in a place like Vegas, but definitely spreading our wings some more, a lot more MVC events. Definitely want to have more of a presence in that world, building a great network with some of the listening rooms. And eventually, I have a plan for a listening room, audiophile lounge, whatever you want to call it. That I'm holding on to and just waiting for the time to really put it on paper. But that's a personal goal for mine is to incorporate a listening room with a record store component. I've always wanted my own shop, little boutique shop, kind of like the size of like Mr. Lucky, or I'm sorry, Mr. Lucky's Records in Miami, down in Wynwood. I think it's a great size. I think the store is curated really well. You got some shit that'll knock your socks off. You got some staples. It's a fun dig, and you don't have to spend an entire day in there. So something like that, a little bit more boutiquey. So that's my probably on my top personal goals, is to get that off the ground. But a lot of moves to be made in 26 for Mac Agency and for DJ Pee Wee. So we're going to stay the course and see what transpires.
I could see you having a listening lounge and a record shop. That would be a real full circle movement for a beat digger like you. I'm glad to see it. If I'm not wrong, you're a vegan, right?
Yeah, vegan. Yeah, almost. I'm like vegan since November 29th, 2011. So, 14, 11, yeah, 14 years, I guess. 14
Okay.
years strong. Yeah.
I really applaud that. I'm something like 90%
Okay,
vegan.
cool.
And you
Okay.
seem like an excellent guy to have dinner with. Maybe next time you're in New York, we'll get together.
Yeah, we'll hit only the wild ones at Butcher's Daughter or something like
Yeah.
that. Go see the crew over there. Maybe we'll bring some records with us.
Yeah. That was well perfect. Thank you for your time, Eddie. You've been
Thank you,
fantastic.
Shom. Appreciate you. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. That
Take
was a
care.
lot of fun. See ya.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
peace.
Bye.
Just give me 30 seconds of your time. Firstly, a huge thank you for checking out the show. This started off as an idea in my mind. To see the growth and the support from the beat digging community from around the world has been fantastic. Secondly, if you support what we do here, take a moment and join the 19% of listeners and subscribe on this app. It makes a huge difference. And my promise to you is to grow this show to make it even more of what you love, more guests, more interesting conversation, more beat digging knowledge. We appreciate your support. Peace.